Cool. So let's cover the news that happened starting from last week. All right, so a very, very unstable and a very exciting weekend we've had was the case of unstable stablecoins. When, let's say, I think it all started on a Saturday evening, Saturday morning, I would say, when we all started that USDC was no longer $1. It started to go to 0.98. And that's when we were like, oh, it's fine. We'll just go on Twitter, we'll just have lunch. And then, like, as you're having lunch, you see the candle go down to about, I think at the lowest, we saw USDC go down to 0.89, if anyone saw it lower. Yep. So the gist of it is that we use stable coins such as USDT, DAI, Frax, Go, I think GHO has not launched, Frax, LUSD, to essentially use them in place of actual USD because you can't trade USD or physical USD on chain. So how we use this is we use stable coins such as USDC, but in this case, not just USDC went off the pack. I think DAI also went off the pack, Frax also went off the pack. But the one thing that survived that we did not expect was USDT. USDT actually survived and remained at $1. So did anyone do anything or did anyone like swap when you saw USDC go down? Because I'm sure most of you did hold USDC, right? Yeah, I think, did you swap, sir? Yeah. Yes, you did. What did you swap to? USDT, okay, good for you. What did you swap to, sir? For, okay, yeah, that's good. There was no liquidity. Oh, so that means you swapped quite late, is it? On chain, yeah. I mean, I was on chain too. I swapped instantly for all my USDC to DAI. And the next thing happened, DAI also dumped. So yeah. So next, please. So the root of all this was mainly rumored to be caused by the collapse of certain banks, which in this case was Silicon Valley Bank. What's the other one called? Silicon Valley Bank? Silvergate? One more. Signature Bank, yes. So three major banking institutions that mainly serve crypto collapsed, so as in they were not able to process customer withdrawals. So once this happened, institutions such as Binance started to pause withdrawals and redemptions. I think Coinbase also started to pause withdrawals. So that caused like panic across the crypto scene, because imagine that you have one USDC and as promised, according to Coinbase, you can redeem it for one USD, but that was not the case now. So it was a very worrying weekend because imagine that all your net worth suddenly is like minus 10% when it goes to 90 cents and so on. Thankfully, as the US government always does, they bailed us out and guaranteed that all depositors to Silicon Valley Bank and so on, Silicon Valley Bank only, I think, would be made whole. So essentially, the Circle, who issues USDC, will be able to redeem all their USD that's stuck in this bank and essentially make USDC one-to-one once again. So as we saw today and yesterday, the pack has pretty much been restored. So any of you who bought USDC at 0.9, congratulations to you. You made a lot of money over the weekend. Okay? Next. All right, so something interesting that's happened also for devs. Goalie Eat is no longer free, so please don't send them around. So, there is a project called Layer 0. They essentially have built a bridge to bridge Goalie Eater from from testnet to mainnet. So this essentially has created a market for Goalie Eater, and essentially you can now swap on Uniswap Goalie Eater and vice versa. So if you have a ton of Goalie Eater from mining Goalie Eat back in the days, you can now swap it for mainnet Eat, as this person has done. This person has accumulated 527,000 Goalie Eater. And at the time, there's no value. There's no point of you holding these. You might as well create a faucet and give it away. But now that you have a bridge, you can swap it to real Ether and buy yourself a CryptoPunk on mainnet. And that's worth hundreds of ETH? I think, I can't tell for sure, but essentially we all know what CryptoPunks are, and it's essentially a blue chip NFT. So if you have a ton of Goalie Ether, it might be nice to swap it to mainnet, but it's on the fence. Some people argue that Goalie Ether should not have a value because essentially it's a testnet chain and it's supposed to be for testing. And some people argue that you should give Goalie Ether out because for anyone who has tried staking on testnet, you would realize that it's incredibly difficult to come across Goalie Ether. And it makes sense to create a market for it. Next. Uniswap has also launched a pocket edition for their wallet. So anyone, I think most of us have used Uniswap, and now they have essentially launched a wallet where you can swap and try and trade on the go, I guess, on on the car, on the train, here. So one good thing is that it's, oh, maybe not a good thing. One thing to note is that it's only available for Apple users now. The drama is that they apparently couldn't get the app through the Play Store, and they had to like, so now it's only available for beta, and hopefully next it will come to Android as well. So whoever uses Apple, do download their wallet, because as you know, DeFi protocols are known to incentivize users to try out the apps, if you know what I mean. Okay, next. All right, next, also this week, a very important smart contract has been deployed on mainnet, and that is account abstraction. It's, for those of us who are not so clear, or those of us who didn't go to computer science university, it's still a bit of a blur of a topic, and that's why we're going to have a sharing session by, I think, Kim, right? Weihan as well. So they're going to share a bit more on account abstraction and how it can help us as end users start to start to use this very new technology that's trying to be introduced to the broader Ethereum community. So some of the benefits I've been told about account abstraction is the removal of private keys. So you don't need to, if you lose your seed phrase, that's like totally fine. You won't lose your crypto. And the second thing I heard was like, let's say gasless transactions or paying gas with different currencies. Yes. So currently, let's say if you have USDT on chain and you don't have ETH, you need to buy ETH, transfer it, pay the gas fee for it, and then move the tokens out, which makes the use case for many normal people, let's say your mom, your new people to crypto, not so efficient. Next. So Meta is not going to make it because for those, I think early in the year, Meta launched an NFT feature. So those of you who use Instagram, which I think is most of us, you have noticed something new on your Instagram app, which is you can share collectibles. So let's say if you own a Bored Ape, you own a, what else? What other NFTs do you guys collect? Let's say you own a Bored Ape, you own the rainbow thing, I think it's called art blocks. So you can actually share this on Instagram and Facebook by selecting it as a digital collectible. So this will prove that you did not screenshot your NFT and claim it to be yours, but this will actually prove that you actually own the NFT. Sadly, this is going away as Meta announced that they are going to wind this down throughout the year, and it will no longer be available for Facebook and Instagram. Has anyone actually used this to try and share it with your friends and on Facebook? Absolutely none of you have used it. But I think now, I'm quite sure I saw it on my Instagram as well. But I think the main point for me was like, I'm okay with looking like a crypto bro on Twitter, but maybe not with my friends on Instagram and Facebook. I would not want to look like that. So Meta is, as we say, not going to make it because they are leaving NFTs, and I guess, I wouldn't say they're leaving NFTs, but they're taking a step away from Web3 rather than towards it for now, at least. But one community that is going to make it for now is, next, Malaysia, because we have submitted a proposal. Yes, please give a round of applause. Guys, louder, guys. Devcon might come to KL. Yeah. So we, the EKL community, have submitted a proposal to host Devcon 7 in Kuala Lumpur itself. So that might be KLCC, that might be PICC or any of it, but it might come to Malaysia now that we've submitted a proposal to host it in KL. So that means the likes of all your heroes like Vitalik and so on will be coming to KL because if this is proposed and this is accepted to become a location for Devcon 7. So Devcon 7 is potentially happening in 2024. So it's not this year, but it should be the starting of next year. Yeah, so if you can help, it would be nice if you go on Twitter and share this and so on, and champion it essentially to get this approved and accepted by the whole Ethereum community across the world. So that includes the US, China, Europe, and so on. If this gets approved, Devcon will come to Southeast Asia, Devcon will come to KL. Yes. Yes, like and comment it, of course. And if, of course, you haven't, please follow EKL on Twitter. Yep. For the next agenda, I think we want to split everyone into smaller rooms. So I'll get Yudish or Ayat to announce that. So yeah, that's the news. Thank you, everyone.
For this month's meetup, we're exploring something new. Basically, we will do breakout sessions. If anyone's been to Devcon or DevConnect, that's kind of a style that they have. There's different tracks for different people. What we will be trying to do is to do 3 different sessions. One that is technical, one that is not so technical, and one for complete beginners. Can I get a show of hands for those who know what I'm talking about? Like, how many people are interested in the account abstraction session? All right, I think that's the majority. How many are interested to talk about network state? Okay. Yeah. And how many people are looking for the blockchain 101 talk? All right. Okay. So for the account abstraction session, we'll have it here in the main hall. And for the other 2 sessions, we'll do it upstairs. Later, we'll just all go up together. The staircase and lift is just here. The network state will be in 4.3, and the blockchain 101 will be in 4.1. So Asfa over there will give the talk. So for those of you who are looking for the talk, please follow Asfa later. And for those who want to discuss this idea of a network state, please go up to 4.3. Before we go off and split into the different directions, maybe you can do like a 1-minute description of each topic so that people can still kind of evaluate their decisions. I'll start first with network state lah. So network state is this book that was written by Balaji Srinivasan, a very popular influencer, I think almost Vitalik level, at least for those who went to Polygon Pit in Singapore. That was the feedback. So he wrote this book called Network State. The idea is about how with the kind of evolution of technology such as cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, you could imagine a network state which is different to the idea of a nation state, where you have a government or a country that doesn't start from a nation of people who are from the same geography or same culture, but people who are from the network. So people who are, like, let's say in a particular online community, let's say the Ethereum community or the Bored Ape community, and then they can form together and eventually start a government that exists in the real physical world. So yeah, quick description on that. Can I get Kim or Wihan? I'll do Kim first. Okay, quick description on the account abstraction.
Hi guys. So account abstraction is based on a new EIP introduced by Ethereum. It's EIP-4337. So essentially, you think about account abstraction is quite a misleading name. You can think about it as a smart contract wallet, where normal wallet that you have in your Ethereum is just you only can store your assets, right? But what if your wallet can have functionalities like a smart contract, where let's say you rather than paying your gas in ETH, you can pay it in USDT, or you can automate certain transactions, for example, or even you can have like gasless, you can have like gasless transactions, and all these possibilities that you can basically add smart contract logics into your wallet itself. Today we're gonna unpack like how we're gonna work in a technical level, but not so technical as well, because we also find it pretty hard to understand. But I think it's the idea is to have an open discussion, right? To share about what this is about, what we know, and everyone take time to explore this together, or even take your free time to explore this and share with the community. To spark everyone's interest into one certain topic, and you can dig deeper in your own time and share. And who knows, right? You will be the next one who build a cool smart contract wallet. Yeah.
And Asfa, just a quick introduction to blockchain 101.
I think the account abstraction will be recorded, right?
Live stream. The network state is also going to be recorded. 101 will not be, unfortunately. So you can join later on the recording. To do it live, have to figure out cloning or something.
Yeah. So blockchain 101 is like a class to intro to blockchains. So if you're new and you're curious why are all these people excited about some NFT pictures, some tokens. Yeah. So you're gonna talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and why is there this movement of a no trust, minimized trust system. So yeah. So if you are new and you are curious about how to do things, and depending on how many people are interested, we can also cover things on how to interact with Ethereum and other things. So yeah. Blockchain 101, essentially, if you are new, you can just join my session.
All right, thanks, Asfa. Yeah, so for those who are doing account abstraction, you can stay here. For those who want to join the other two sessions, we can all kind of gather and go up stairs together. Quick note for both the account abstraction and network state. If you can get a volunteer to like write down the notes in Google Docs, and we can check Google Docs live, then we can get the notes and then share it with everyone later. All right, thanks everyone.
Okay, for those who are following for Blockchain 101, do follow Asfar on the left. He will bring you upstairs if you know where is the room. Yeah, okay. And then for those who are following, Kim will be here for account abstraction. And for those who are doing network state, I think you follow Harit. So those who are not joining the account abstraction, you will go outside. Here, right here. So account abstraction is just right here. And if you want, you guys can come towards the center. It might be a bit easier for Sirs, Kim, and Bihan to present. Go ahead, go ahead. You guys go outside?
Hey guys. So initially this session will be like a round table discussion session, but Wei Han here he did some research into account abstractions and also actually present about account abstraction in our previous hackathon as one of the workshops for everyone. So might as well we would like to kickstart this session with some of the previous presentation that he made. So everyone can be in the same picture. If you have no idea what account abstraction is about, this could be a pretty good onboarding. Yeah. And after this, then we might go to a round table session, to challenge what are the questions you'd like to answer. If you didn't understand one part, then you can ask a question and see anyone in the table can answer it and explore freely this topic. Yeah.
One question entire screen or?
Okay. Yeah. So, start to go. Okay. Yep. All right. Hello. Hi guys. So, thanks for coming to account abstraction, I guess. So, actually, this presentation has been done for KL Mini Hack. So I was wondering like who actually watched this before. So I just roughly know. Okay, nobody except for these two. Great. Then it means you guys are here to learn something. Yeah, we can all learn something together. So, for this session, it's not going to be very technical yet. I think I'm just going to introduce you guys the history of account abstraction, the use case of account abstraction, how it actually works for ERC-4337 or EIP-4337, and what's the current state of adoption for account abstraction. Yeah, so let's start with some basics. I think just use the Google slide because I have a lot of animations. Yeah, just exit. Yeah, exit. Yeah. Can we go next slide? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So today's agenda, very short one, not going to be very long. Try to be not as what we call as Chonghe as possible. So there's intro, there's use cases, there's also evolution, and also the state of adoption. Next slide. So before we actually talk about the account abstraction itself, we need to understand a little bit of basics. just a little bit of 101 of for Ethereum. So the first basic is that you need to understand what is Ethereum as an architecture, right? At least the basic ones. So Ethereum is basically a blockchain, right? Or what I will call it as a chain of states. When you are making a transaction, you are shifting from one state to another. And the current state is like a database, right? To say that, okay, the current state is that Vitalik has 10 ETH, you have 2 ETH. When you make a transaction, let's say you send Vitalik 1 ETH, then Vitalik would have, in the later state, Vitalik will have 11 ETH and you have 1 ETH, right? So this is how blockchain works as a basic. It's very simple, right? And another thing that we also understand is that, next slide, what is inside the world state? There is only one very single important object inside the world state, which is called accounts, right? And this is why we are going to talk about accounts today, right? Hence the word account abstraction. So next slide. So you need to understand there's two types of accounts on Ethereum. One is commonly known as EOA or externally owned account. The second one is called contract account. So EOA is basically the ones that you guys are using right now. You have your private key or you have your seed phrases. This is the one that you're using to make transactions, right? So it's the holy grail, or not really a holy grail, but the first class citizen on Ethereum ecosystem. It basically contains, the account itself basically contains a public address. You as a user, you have your own seed phrase or your private key. When you combine these two together, you can form a signature, then that's how you can make a transaction, and then you can make a message call and so on and so forth, right? And not yet. And the second type is contract account, right? So contract account is somewhat similar to EOA, but it exists on chain. That means that you guys know what is smart contract. So it basically has codes that you can write some logic and then you can make some message calls. But the important thing here when it comes to contract account is that it does not initiate transactions. What it means is that every single transaction must start from an EOA. And that is the problem, because if you don't have EOA, if you don't own an externally owned account, you can't make a transaction or you can't initiate transactions. And this is the bottleneck that account abstraction is trying to solve, right? So you may ask, like, why is EOA so bad? Like, okay, if I cannot initiate a transaction from contract account, so what? Now, let's explore some problems, right? Next slide. So the problems here is very simple. Imagine that in traditional finance, all of you must have a bank account, right? So imagine that if you lose your bank account password, what will happen, right? You will call your bank and say that, hey, I lose my bank account password, I need to recover it. Then you provide your IC, you provide your details, and then the bank will say that, okay, you are the owner of this account or this bank account, you can recover your funds. But that's not the case in Ethereum or in blockchain as a whole. You lose your key, bye-bye. Your funds are gone. You lose or a hacker has your key, hacker has your funds, right? So does it make sense in the Web2 world, for example, does it make sense for us to, if we lose our bank account password, oh, our funds are gone? It doesn't make sense, right? So we are just trying to replicate the same user experience for Web3 as well, Web3 users as well. We want it to make it such that even if users lose their seed phrase or lose their private key, it's not that big of a deal, right? There are still ways to recover it, and it's just like recovering a bank account password, as simple as that. So yeah, next slide. So what exactly is account abstraction? It's just basically, the concept is just very simple. It's just decoupling two things. It's decoupling signer with account, right? I think just now I didn't mention, but the concept of a why bank account, maybe go back to the previous slide. Yeah. The problem why if you lose your seed phrase and then you will lose your funds is that because there are two concepts that are being merged together currently. Basically, the concept of signer and also EOA, right? So signer and EOA, they should be separated, but currently they are in the same concept, right? So that means that what it means by merging is that if you lose your if you can't make a transaction without either one of them. You can't make a transaction without a signer, or you can't also make a transaction without an account. But we want to separate them. That means that even if you don't have a signer, you still have your account. You can somehow use another way to access your account to make a transaction. We want to separate that concept. Yeah. Next slide. So coming back to what is account abstraction, to put it simply, is to decouple the concept of signer with account. Okay. Next slide. So just by somehow getting this into concept, you can explore some use cases that are very commonly known in the current industry or in the current account abstraction world right now. The first concept is like what you mentioned, account recovery. So here, very simple, right? You lose your key, you still can have a backup key to access your account, right? That is somewhat not possible by default in the current EOA system. So that's one very important use cases for account abstraction. The second one is signature extraction. So imagine if you are starting some organization, you have a millions dollar in your fund or USDC, and you want to enable like some kind of multi-sig system for this particular particular transaction. Like in order to make a transaction, let's say worth like 1 million, you need a signature from CEO, CFO, whatsoever, right? Or 10 people, right? So by using account abstraction, this is enabled, right? Multi-sig basically. Like in this case, I use a example of wife and husband. So in order to send a transaction using this so-called joint account, the wife and husband must both, give sign or provide their signature, right? So this is multi-sig enabled. And another one is also like you can use like different signature schemes like BLS, quantum safe, or whatever signature algorithm that is going to release in the future. And the third one is gas abstraction. This is also quite commonly known. So gas abstraction is basically, as a user, personally, when I first on board into this crypto world, I didn't understand why I need to pay gas and why the hell is the gas so expensive. And gas is oftentimes known as, one of the obstacles for people to be onboarded with crypto, right? So in this case, account abstraction allow gas abstraction or gas sponsorship. So basically, for example, let's say your Binance or whatever exchange, if I'm a new user going to in your platform, Binance can sponsor me, like let's say a free gas sponsorship for 30 days because I'm a new user. This is not possible in the current system, but account abstraction enables this, right? So gas sponsorship. And another use cases that I think Kim also mentioned is that, if you don't have ETH right now, but you need to send a transaction using some ETH or some USDC, you can pay, instead of paying in ETH, you can pay in some whatever other tokens or maybe Bitcoin even. Yeah, so that's also one of the interesting use cases. And the last one is batch operations. So basically batching a bunch of transactions into a single transaction. So this is more commonly known in games where it's just a much better user experience. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, so we're just going to explore a little bit about the history of account abstraction. So the concept of account abstraction actually started by Vitalik, as usual, since actually 2016. But 2017, I think, is the first EIP. It starts from EIP 86. At that time, I think, not going to dive too deep, but basically what it tries to do is to abstract two things. One is signature verification and non-scheme, right? Basically, users can create like non-hard-coded contract accounts. So this is just a very simple update for account abstraction. And the problem faced at that time is that, first thing, it does not support all of the use cases that I mentioned just now, right? Just now I mentioned like tons of use cases, but this one only supports 2. And this one, despite not being able to support a lot of use cases, it does require protocol level changes. That means hard fork. That means you have to do a lot of different things in order to support it. So it's not worth it to, support this change. And the third one is that it does not remove EOAs. I think the long-term goal, especially coming from the Ethereum Foundation, they want to make every account on Ethereum a smart contract accounts. But that's a very long-term vision, and they are trying to move towards that with account abstraction. But yeah, this does not remove EOAs, so it's somewhat a problem. The next EIP is EIP 2938. So it basically introduces 2 new opcodes and a new type of transaction. So this is technical stuff. But yeah, it basically allows smart contract to act as EOA to transact and pay gas fee. So again, it's more like a restricted version of account abstraction. It does not support all of the use cases that I mentioned just now. And again, it does require protocol level changes. So it's still the same problem, right? It's not very good, but we need a lot of effort to achieve it. So it's still not a good EIP. And the next EIP is EIP 3074. So this one, I'll just use a diagram to illustrate because it's quite interesting in my opinion. Next slide. Yeah. So EIP 3074 is something like this. It's very simple. You have a new opcode called auth, AUTH. So basically, you can use this new opcode. Users can use this new opcode to sign a message. And then when you sign a message with this auth, then you can invoke a smart contract to basically transact on behalf of you, right? And then this smart contract that is invoked, that is authorized, can use auth call to perform transactions, right? So it's a very simple idea where smart contracts, you are enabling smart contracts to use your funds. But there's a big problem. Next slide. Yeah. So let's just talk about the problem first. At first, it sounds very good, but it's too good to be true because it's a huge security issue. Because what if, any user somehow just sign a message with off, and then it's a huge security issue because the smart contract can actually control the funds, and there's technically no way to pull out from this message. And we know that there are many bad people out there, so it's not a good user experience for normal users who are not so aware of this thing, right? And again, it still does not enable the account recovery feature that I mentioned, and users are still expected to back up their seed phrase. So again, it's still not an improvement for user experience. So, that's like no point for us to do this, even though there's slight benefit. And the last one is the current holy grail, which is EIP-4337, that enables us to do all of the use cases that I mentioned just now, and is by far the best version so far, but I think it still can be improved. So yeah, let's dive a little bit deep into EIP-4337. Okay, so that's the diagram there. This is the rough technical flow, but in actual reality is slightly more complicated, but yeah, this is the summarized version. So there are essentially 5 steps, and there are a few things that are being introduced to this EIP-4337. The first thing is that there is something called user operation. User operation, you can think of it as a new type of transaction, right? So, or you can just think of it as a transaction, but in a different form. So the first step is that, okay, a user has some sort of private key, not the EOA private key, but the private key of user wallet contract, right? Which I'll explain later on. Basically, the user can sign a message using this private key and send a user operation, which is something like a transaction, to the user operation mempool, right? This user operation mempool is a different mempool than the current mempool that we have in the current transaction mempool, right? So it's a separate mempool. The second step is that there's a new actor in this system called bundler. What bundler does is that it takes a bunch of user operations from the user operation mempool, and it bundles up together as into a transaction called bundle transaction, which contains a bunch of user operations, right? And the third step is that bundle will send this bundle transaction as a single transaction into an entry point contract. So this entry point contract is a singleton contract. Singleton means that there's only one entry point contract that exists in any chain, let's say in Ethereum mainnet. So this entry point contract must be audited and make sure that it's secure because it's going to be used by everyone, right? So the fourth step is that the entry point contract will call, getting all the bundle transaction and getting all of the user operation. It will call the user wallet contract and paymaster contract for validation. And lastly, it will execute, and then the bundle transaction, everything will be included into a Ethereum block like any other transaction, right? So this is a summarized version. And I want to just highlight the idea of decoupling here. If you just look at the diagram, you can see the user private key and the user wallet contract is pretty far away. So this is the idea of decoupling. They are no longer together, but they are separated, right? So if you lose your key, you can recover it by using any other means, right? Depending on how you phrase your wallet contract logic. So this is EIP-4337. And next slide. So yeah, major changes. There's user operation, there's bundle, there's like alternative mempool. So there's a lot of things that need to be done in terms of the infrastructure layer. And the best thing here is that it enables us to do a lot of different things, like all of the use cases that I mentioned just now, and it does not require protocol level changes, right? So this is a huge advantage because people can experiment with the idea of account abstraction without doing such a big changes in terms of protocol level. But there are still some problem faced, right? Despite it not being a protocol level change, right? That also means that the wallet is built on top of EIP-4337. It remains a second-class citizen. That means that, again, if you remember what I mentioned just now, EF or Ethereum Foundation, what they are trying to do is to make everything into a smart contract account. But even with this EIP being introduced, it's not going to happen, right? So it's still not perfect, and I do foresee that in the future they are going to release some sort of more improvements to slowly going to the future of everything is a smart contract account. And the second thing is that user operation the new type of transaction that I mentioned just now does introduce a higher gas fee. So this is also somewhat a problem. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, yeah, we are sort of getting to the end for this. So the current state of adoption, actually this is not updated, but the current state, like the current state is that, as everyone know, it's live on mainnet, it's live on testnet as well, it's live on some other chains, if I'm not mistaken, but I forgot which chain, but yeah, it's already live. So everyone can start to build on top of account abstraction. And if we talk about the implementation itself, there are ongoing implementation in terms of the infrastructure, or in terms of the bundle by different companies like StackUp, Infinitism, Nethermind, yeah, so on and so forth. And second thing is that account abstraction is actually live way before this EIP, but on L2s. And some L2s are like ZK Sync, Starknet, yeah, and also some other L2s which I forgot the names. And lastly, when we talk about account abstraction or ERC-4337, I think most people will talk about wallets. So there are a lot of ongoing implementation for account abstraction wallets. For example, Argent X, Sol Wallet, and StackUp Wallet, and potentially Trust Wallet as well. Yeah, next slide. Okay, short term, let's talk about the future for AA, right? So short term, right, as I mentioned, protocol level changes won't happen anytime soon, at least not within these 2 years, I believe. Yeah, and what they are trying to do right now is to experiment with account abstraction. One on the L2 protocols, like the native account abstraction support that I mentioned just now, like Starknet and ZK Sync, and also the current live account abstraction. Again, it's still not perfect, but they want people to experiment with this feature. And the third thing, I think what they want people to be aware of, especially developers, is to make sure that developers are aware that EOAs are not going to going to be less of a priority in the future, and people need to be aware of these smart contract wallets and ensure that the applications that you build can be compatible with smart contract wallets. Yep. And in the long term, as I mentioned previously, smart contract wallets will eventually replace EOAs. It will take a step one by one to achieve that, but it will take a long time. But that's the end goal. And in order to do that, there will be major protocol changes, right? Hard fork and things like that. And there will also be EIPs to reduce gas costs, like input node incentive, like a lot of the problems that are still facing in the current account abstractions system right now. Yeah. So next slide. So just to summarize, account abstraction basically aims to replicate Web2 user experience by using Web3's technology. So in my opinion, I am very excited for this technology because when we talk about adoption, we are still not there yet. And we really need to build an application such that the user experience is very smooth for them and it's easy for us to onboard them. So I believe account abstraction will eventually be, next slide. Yeah, I think you will be the catalyst for a ChatGPT moment for blockchain, but this is kind of what I think. I don't know will it happen, but let's see. So yeah, that's my summary and that's a very short introduction for account abstraction. Yep, thank you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, just curious, do you guys find this insightful, or you guys, anyone feel like you actually know about this before this or read about account abstraction before? Yeah, how you guys find it insightful? I think let's approach this in this way. Probably everyone, we can move to around this area. I wish like everyone can sit closer. Then I'll pass the mic around because it's an open session and it will be recorded as well. So everyone can actually get the essence and also our essence of discussion through YouTube. Yeah. So if any questions, right, let's start with like probably a Q&A and how, or sharing your opinions on how you envision account abstraction could change how we do things now. Yeah. Like how you imagine it, or even like any questions about the slides, then anyone who can answer it. Yeah. Let's start with Q&A. Yeah, a Q question. Then anyone can answer, then let's just answer it together.
Hi, I'm Harith. I've heard about account abstraction before from Starknet, reading a white paper and updates about what they're ongoing right now. I find it to be a very fascinating tool, especially for those who are building decentralized apps who want to utilize blockchain but don't want to make it a barrier for new users. What I'm curious about is where it's talked about how there's a higher gas fees for user mempools. Yeah, I don't understand why is it a high gas fee when everything is being bundled by a bundler.
I think the high gas fee one. I think when we talk about high gas fee, it's more like the individual user operation, like what I mentioned just now. User operation itself is a new form of transaction, and the normal type of transactions. Just to give some technical part here, the transaction that we're familiar with right now is it starts with 21,000 gas fee or 53,000 if it's a contract creation, right? So this is the default or at least the base minimum for the gas fee for the normal transaction. So if we imagine user operation is a new layer added on top of the normal transaction that we have, then you induce that means that more data are being sent to EVM. That means we also need to spend more gas fee. So I don't exactly remember the gas fee for user operation, but is it like 70,000 or 90,000 around there? So yeah, it's more like individual transaction or user operation. But I think Vitalik actually also released an article that say that actually if we consider the application for the entire ERC-4337, it does actually reduce the gas fee as a whole. Like I think what you mentioned as well. So yeah, maybe we can check out the article or the tweet later on if you can find. But yeah, there is a diagram for that.
Yeah, but I also do remember they can bundle transactions together. Hello? Yeah, they can bundle transactions together. So in some way, it could, let's say you can three transactions into one, you can bundle things together. It might also reduce gas fee as well. Yeah. I think, yeah, any more questions? Just curious? Yeah.
So I see a lot of similarities in this to basically what the work is being done by relayers, especially on chains like Cosmos, where it's very common. But of course, the problem with relayers is that it's an off-chain operation, and no one can verify that. Bringing this on-chain enables that transparency, but I think a potential issue is also like similar to how bridges kind of add that layer of risk, which is that if that abstracted the user operations contract has an exploit or a problem, then yeah, it brings it down for the whole chain as well. Does anyone in the room have any thoughts about having multiple user operation standards in order to prevent this centralized risk?
I didn't have any idea for this one. I've never thought about this before. But I think it's a really good discussion point where, in terms of security, right, what are the risks with this system itself? So I think there's one part where, so let's say, just like you mentioned, right, you can have a user operations and you send to a bundler. Bundler will do the rest of the work, right? What bundler will do usually is that they will actually communicate with the Spark contract wallet, which is the contract that you have. And how they communicate is they have a few operations. They have something called verify. Is it verify operations and all these? Validate ops and all these different stuff. And validate ops to make sure that the wallets have sufficient gas fee to perform a transactions and all these different stuff. And a lot of there are actually quite a lot of like this kind of calls to be made. And in some way, your wallet will also need to pay the bundler gas fees, right? Because technically, the bundler help you to perform a transaction. It's like you ask someone to help you to do all the work, right? In the middle. So you need to pay him gas fee. Even the transaction fails. Yeah. So let's say, for example, someone can compromise where they can make every transaction fail and they get all the gas fee that you pay them. And it could be potentially compromised. But I'm not very sure about that. But there's something in my head that, what if someone can hack this system here? But in terms of details, I don't know. But probably, do you have any opinions on the security concerns and other stuff? At least I'm not very aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in my mind, I believe because we are introducing a secondary layer or infrastructure for this new type of transaction, but it's not really talking about the security point of view, but I think more on the MVV point of view. Personally, I'm not an expert in MVV, but like what Kim mentioned, bundle need to have incentive to bundle stuff together, right? And they are getting paid to do that. And the power of a bundle is also very similar to a block proposal, where they can, they can arrange the user operations in any ordering that they want. So I think I believe for MEV experts here or people who are trying to get into MEV, but I believe this is a very good opportunity because this is a new thing. That means that it's not going to be very efficient, at least at the start. So I believe that this is an opportunity that we can tap into if you want to earn big bucks. But yeah, and definitely they are also aware of this MEV opportunity in the bundler infrastructure layer. And yeah, but I'm not 100% sure also in terms of how the security or how this can be improved, because it is still a new infrastructure. Yeah.
Probably we can be the new flashbot for for this one. Yeah.
Yeah, so quite interesting, right? So actually the term relayers and bundlers, especially relayers, actually exist in smart contract wallets, if I understood right. So for relayers, like it's not scalable to like because relayers is a third party off chain, right? So you cannot have like thousands of relayers, right? So the idea of bundler is trying to like make it so that anyone could be a relayer itself. So I think like I get your point. At first, it will kind of be more like it'll be more centralized because like of course at the beginning the bundles will be quite few, and then like I think this will scale through. It takes time lah. I think yeah. So that's my 2 cents on the bundler and the relay.
I think it's also like bundler. It gives people opportunity to users like people who run bundlers who have opportunities to perform MEVs, right? Because technically what they did, they take the transaction from the mempool and they order it, right? And order it to make a transactions. And from the argument that they have on forums and discussion that you can have MEV operations there when you can gain revenues, you can make gains through running bundlers. So it could also incentivize people in making the market much more efficient. Yeah, same to the flashbot proposal thing as well. It might sacrifice centralization like what Flashbot face now. That's why they are developing Suave, and yeah, see how it develops. They have much thoughts on this one. Would anyone want to share any thoughts? Yeah.
So this is one question to Wei Han, right? So like regarding the lesser gas fees, right? So from what I understand is EOA, like you say, like in Ethereum, it's all smart contracts. So actually EOA is essentially we are quite alienated from the smart contracts. So like that's the reason why we need smart contract wallets. So could this be that with smart contract wallets, right? Because it's more native to the chain, so it costs less gas fees because you don't need to call so much compared to EOA. So is that the main reason why like smart contract wallets are actually has lesser gas fees?
I think my understanding of lesser gas fee, I think, still originates from the idea of, sorry, what's the name again? Harif mentioned the idea where we can batch transaction together. But the problem still exists, right? Individual operations is still more expensive as compared to a normal operation. So that also is also quite an interesting topic that we can explore. Like, does it only make sense to use an user operation or only if you want to send multiple things at the same time? Can that also be a new infrastructure that we can think of, or to incentivize people, right? So if let's say if you're going to send like 100 batch operations, then the gas fee, well, we can also introduce the idea of paymaster to sponsor it, right? Because you are sending so many transactions at the same time, and the opposite can happen also. If you only want to send one user operation, what's the point for a bundler to do that, right? I'm just going to penalize you for doing such a not really a stupid thing, but such a inefficient thing. So but yeah, I want to try and get the article that we have, or I mean the Vitalik release. So maybe let me just check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone or any ideas want to share any thoughts? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Anything. Yeah, it's an open table. Yeah.
Hi, I'm not super technical, but how would you tell someone a summary of today's like sharing about how do you bridge like Web 2 people to Web 3 in a easier way, like using this EI something 4337. Yes, so close.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I think to make a summary on what this is about, right? If what I usually talk to people is that if I would usually ask them whether you try MetaMask before, right? If you try MetaMask before, you know that what you only can do is send transactions, sign, and all these different things, right? What if you can be like a bank account that you have, you can change password, you can use social login, you can pay, you don't need to pay gas fee, someone pay for you, or even for example, if anyone here play or do any transactions or staking or even games before, you will get an annoyance that for one transaction you need to make two signatures, like 1, 2 signatures, and so like 3 things, and you don't know when the transaction is made. This happens to me at first as well. So if you imagine that, just make one transaction rather than 3, right? Or you can bundle things together, and it makes the experience much more closer to Web 2 and closer to the experience that we as a normal people have in the Web 2 world. So for me, the overall conclusion is that making the wallet experience as close to Web 2 as possible and as easy as possible, and extend the possibilities for everyone to try out different ways to have their opinions to make the experience in their own way and easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, at least from a user perspective, if I don't understand anything about account abstraction, what I really want, if I were to step into Pico right now with zero knowledge, is that I want the experience to be very similar to how I access my Maybank, Hong Leong, type in password, you see a very similar thing, show your fund, I can transfer, do it now, whatsoever. It's just a very similar experience. And I believe account abstraction, or I think account abstraction can do that. We just need to build it. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious if you guys have any like some sort of like a demo for any app that's using account abstraction. Is that possible?
Technically, I didn't have any. I think there are a few products which are trying to build that. It's still building. Yeah, it's very new. Like they released like 2 weeks ago. But I think a few can take note. It's like Soul Wallet, which is one of the winning project for, I think it's If India or something like that. Is it If India or something? Yeah, basically they are trying to build a account abstraction wallet which utilizing ERP-4337, and that's something I'm looking at how their development is going. And yeah, so not much product for now, but I can pay attention to a few. Yeah.
As in not on Solana, right?
Yeah,
As in, it's called Soul.
Soul.
Cool.
Yeah.
So another question, like not really technical, because I come from I'm kind of like in the middle, 2.5. So having to bridge a lot of Web 2 people and brands, this is actually very interesting, like account abstraction. But it's like cybersecurity, like is like that whole security thing. Will that be an issue because people are still like dumb, right? There's even like 12 or 24 like seed phrase, they still give it out. And one more if it's a password. Is there like any other way to actually combat like things like this? Or man, I don't know, man. I feel like it's actually very cool. Imagine you just click like your Google, but then how do you put it on like the blockchain and like God knows this is damn technical.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I think you want to talk about this? Or you have questions? Yeah, sure. You go first. I think it's to encourage everyone to share anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a little bit building on what you were saying as well, because I see this as especially useful because I'm building something decentralized. I want to utilize blockchain on my decentralized app, but I do not want. I'm in my target market people who are in Web 2, right? If I'm creating a marketplace, I don't want. If I'm creating a marketplace for something very Web 2, I don't want people to learn about MetaMask and all this. And I think I kind of get what you mean, like how do you secure this? So I think in a lot of decentralized apps, what they're doing is basically it's a bit less democratic, but the apps themselves are keeping like the accounts for the users and such.
It becomes like centralized, right?
Correct. So in a way, you sacrifice. This is the
Paradoxal thing, I guess. Like
paradoxal is the yeah. Trilemma, right, yeah. So I think, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think for what you mentioned, right? I think I didn't have a clear answer for that one. Like, what's the best experience for these users? But I think this is the reason of EIP 437, where to let developers, to let us to brainstorm what are the most best experience for the product or the users you develop for. So imagine, right? This is what I believe that in a normal Web2 wallets, right? Every location have their own localized e-wallet. Malaysia is Touch and Go, right? In US is Cash App. Why? Every locale have different needs, have different regulations, or every locale have different ways of doing things, right? So imagine in this case that you have a smart contract wallet that can be customized based on the locale or the target users they want to go for, and you develop the best experience for it. And this gives you the infrastructure to build what you want, what you have in your mind, and extend the possibility from a normal MetaMask wallet or a normal EOA, which is a wallet that stores value and makes transactions. They only can store assets and make transactions. Yeah, I think it's really the part from like what the best experience I didn't know yet, but it it creates a platform for anyone to create anything. Yeah, I think Visa is a good one. Probably want to talk about this.
Yeah, I think I can't remember what's the content of this article, but this article is by Visa, right? Official announcement, and they are very interested in actually using account abstraction to facilitate like this transaction setting transaction, right? Using this account abstraction. So but yeah, I can't remember the exact details for this article, but yeah, there are big players in the Web2 market right now, such as Visa. And another one, I think mostly from fintech companies, they are interested in using this technology. So yeah, I think account abstraction in 1 year will be very different from what I see right now. So yeah.
Can you share the link though?
Oh yeah. So like regarding the user experience, right? At the moment, because like even the entire market, the gaming market is actually like centralized as well. Like games, right? You only know like Axie Infinity. These are like kind of like pioneers, right? So the main idea is like to make it more, how to say, like accessible to everyone, right? So like we have to make it like very very easy for Web2 devs or like for dapps to like we don't want to see like just one Axie Infinity only. We just want to see like many other people to onboard, even gaming dapps and all that. So like I think what's your name? Harith. Like so mention that you have your own target audience, right? I think we can also like move into like the paymasters and all that, because like right now, right, to onboard your users, this is one. So like let's say I want to onboard users to play my game. So and then like they don't need ETH exactly to play my game. I can target them specifically, like using the paymasters, right? So you can pay my own token to onboard on my game. I think that's a really really good way to like onboard more users, so that we can solve the centralized problem. So not everything is just Xfinity or like, so you have more games lah.
Yeah. So you have questions? Yeah. Sorry.
Hi. So if we are talking about replicating Web2 experience, right? What if I created a wallet and I set it in a way that when I want to do a transaction, I need an signature from my wife, and then later on, you broke up. So
divorce first.
okay, let's say divorce. So you divorce, both of you are not happy with each other. I'm not gonna let you make a transaction. You are not gonna make me a transaction. The money is stuck inside. So because in Web2 you got a lawyer and everything to sort this out. How about in Web3?
Web 2.5 lawyer.
Web 2.5 lawyer. Anyone want to share anything? Yeah. Anyone want to share? Yeah. Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, I can share.
Yeah.
I think I really like the real life example, because not everything is perfect, right? And I think this is the beauty of account abstraction, because you see, maybe 2 years or 1 year later, you could be building a wedding specific, like targeting like husband and wife market for in terms of account abstraction. You build this kind of wallet that can solve the problem that you mentioned. You know, you can shift your logic in this in a way that, yeah, you know, if they just yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that you know, there's so many corner cases in real life that also means that there are a lot of opportunities that we can tap into. So, you know, we can shape this logic in the case where, okay, if you broke up, I mean, in code logic, I don't know how, but somehow, if you broke up, then this fund will be, you know, transferred to somewhere. Or maybe they hold their own personal wallet. If they break up, then they will send like half to like one husband, one to wife. You know, there's so many things that we can explore, and I think that's a very specific market that you're targeting to right now.
Just thinking about it. Yeah. Be prepared for it. Yeah. Prepared. Sorry.
You should sell options on that relationship.
Yeah, very interesting question. Actually, Dubai Police is already working on this, because there is like a metaverse. In metaverse, they have deployed their Dubai Police, and they are working on that kind of concept. So in future, we will see also police department, law, judge everywhere in the Web2 world, Web3 world as well.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's possible. Yeah, but for personally as a decentralized maxis, no lah. But I don't like that to happen. Not joking. Yeah. Anyone want to talk about anything? If not, right, probably we can, you know, go even deeper or talk about like how it actually works behind the hood, what is bundler, right? Like what are the bundle service or anything like that. But before that, anything want to dig in or talk about further discuss? I think it's fun. Different bundles, different. Huh? I don't know, bro. Yeah, anyone? Or anything? Yeah, it's yeah, yeah, probably I think this is one of the best materials that it's kind of technical, but it's written in a pretty clear way. You can scroll it up, you can scroll to the top. Yeah, yeah. So this article from Alchemy about you could have invented account abstractions. So he kind of write this article from a person, from like a journey on how account abstraction is created, like his thought process, like what the problem face and how they solve a problem with this particular section. Like let's say bundlers, right? Like he talk about the problems, then like, oh, that's why we introduced bundle to solve this problem. So it's like it's like from inventor perspective to share his thought process on how this is created and how he solved the problems. I think it's very interesting. It's kind of technical, but it's still pretty easily readable in some way. I think it's a pretty good one. So it's you go Alchemy account abstractions, then you can see this. You could have invented account abstraction part 1. There are 4 parts. Part 1 talking about the basics of account abstractions. I think part 3 is part 2 I forget is what. I think part 3 is paymaster and part 4 is about, I forget, yeah, something like that. Yeah, but it's a pretty good article and to understand what it is about. Yeah. Yeah, probably we can talk about here's the first question. How many time we have left, right? I think we have 6 minutes. I think it's a bit hard to go through what we have here, right? Yeah, but yeah, any question, thoughts?
Because I'm still new in this space, so I'm just curious whether EIP-4337 will have a huge impact on how much space you need to run a node, because it seems to add another layer into the process. Yeah, so that's my question.
Okay, I think I can answer that. I think that's a very good question, and I actually never thought of it before. But if I were to think right now, in terms of node space, I don't. I think the only space that we can, I mean, let's talk about it in terms of fundamental point, right? Everything is a Merkle tree, and when you are saying that you add more node space, that means that you're adding more data to the state. And adding more data to the state means that you're either adding more accounts, because there are 2 types of trees. I mean that there are many types of Merkle trees. You're adding more accounts, or you're adding more storage slots. I think it is possible to add more disk space because there could be more storage slots that are being used. I'm being very technical here. Small storage slot means that when you're writing a smart contract, there are you're initializing more variables. We can take up more space or more memory. So it is possible to have more, to increase the node space, but I don't think it will be a big problem because one of the things that is not account abstraction related, but one of the things that is on Ethereum's roadmap is called the purge. So what it's trying to do for the purge roadmap is trying to actually, one of it is called state expiry. And there are a few things, they have a whole solution to how to reduce node spaces, right? And one of it is Merkle tree, address extension scheme. This is all very being technical, just introducing for fun. And the third one is state expiry. So short term wise, I don't think this is going to be a big problem. I don't think it's going to increase the nodes disk space to like an exponential level. And in the long term, it will increase, but in the long term, we have another solution to mitigate this problem. So I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. Yeah. Yeah. Any question?
Yeah. Anyone? If not, anything? Yeah, sure. Let's go. I need to answer a question again, sorry.
But if let's say, I mean, it addresses his question as well. Don't you think like there's going to be a limit if let's say we were to do this account abstraction and then if everything is centralized, it probably will be owned by someone, right? And then it'll be like the whole freemium and the whole business model of having to just top up in case, you know, like he said, you reach like 2 terabyte and then Google will be like, fuck you, you know, pay $50 a month. If not, I'm gonna like, you know, screw your accounts, screw your smart contracts, like whatever you're deploying, that's the max and stuff. Like, does it like work that way, right? Yeah.
Okay, the problem is not for, so actually the space problem is not like a normal users, we actually wouldn't experience it because we didn't run a node, right? We didn't store the blockchain state, right? It might affect if it doesn't grow in exponentially, then it should be okay. But let's assume it grow exponentially. What it affects the people who run nodes, right? They run node, they have a machine, they buy 2 terabytes and become 2.1 today. Like suddenly from 1.5 to 2 today, right? Then it will affect them, or else it wouldn't affect a normal user like us. Yeah, and space is a thing, right? But space is an issue. But we also think about like if you think about this, like I believe like give me a second. So space are getting more and more cheaper as time goes on. Kind of like the Moore's law for computer, where every 2 years the computation power will twice, right? Same for storage. Every few years, I believe it should follow around the same rule where last time you need to spend $100 for 2 terabyte. Now $100 you can buy 4 terabyte after 2 years. So storage will also be cheaper and cheaper as long the storage growth speed of blockchain doesn't exceed the growth speed of the storage cost. Then I don't think it will be a problem in some way, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the extreme scenario, we're talking about our user cycle and user cycles. I think the extreme scenario on how this exponentially increase storage cost, let's say it happens, it will affect us is that perhaps it will just introduce a freemium model to us. Like for example, right now, if you want to run nodes or if you want to somehow connect to an RPC node or any node that let's say Infura or Alchemy has, right now it's free at the moment. I mean, for like testnet at least. If let's say the storage increases until a point that is not bearable, then we might have to pay just a little bit. And I think that's how I can foresee if let's say the worst case scenario happens. But I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. And I also don't think that it's going to be like what Kim say is the storage cost will be so unbearable, because that means that it's going to reach like more than 1,000 terabyte or what's after terabyte. But yeah, things like that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. So don't worry, guys.
Yeah, I think let's end our live stream session here. But I think it's still okay to to go with any like network session and want to talk about anything. Okay, yeah. There's food outside. You can just get some food, get some drinks. We have teh tarik, there's a lot of kueh outside, and connect with each other. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining today, and see you in the next meetup, most probably next month. Thank you.